Speaking of which, there was an interesting article in the Hockey News about, and sometimes you need to write some stuff in the off season just to make sure that you get your typing fingers, your typing muscles going, and you just need to create content. But I did think that there was some interesting things in this article, and so this is why I brought this forward. The Hockey News put up 5 coaches potentially on the hot seat, and 2 of the teams that we follow very closely here are named: Travis Green with the Vancouver Canucks and Darryl Sutter with the Calgary Flames is considered a coach on the hot seat, which with Sutter, it's absolutely fascinating that you put a guy in a half of a year that he would be considered on a hot seat. But I already see Devin shaking his head on this one, that you think it's ridiculous. But let's start with Sutter and then we'll go with Green here. The organization at this particular point has to be on some sort of hot seat right now. And this has to, when I say this has to include Brad Treliving. Sean and I were talking before everyone got on here. 5 coaches. This is the 5th coach that Brad Treliving has brought in. This is unheard of for a general manager to be able to bring in 5 coaches. One of them, a completely drastic and unfortunate situation, I will grant you, but that still leaves it with 4, which is still pretty much unheard of here. There has to be high expectations on what Darryl Sutter was expected to bring. So I'll start with Devin. Do you see any reason that he should be on a hot seat? What percentage would you put him there?
Close to 0. To be 100% honest, the person who should be on the fucking hot seat is Adam Proto, who decided to put this clickbait out there. He's the guy who wrote the article. Like, what are you fucking thinking, man? Like, honestly, the person who's on the hot seat more than Darryl Sutter is Brad Treliving, 100%. Why would Darryl Sutter come in for like not even a full year? Not even a full year. And why would Brad Treliving give him a 3-year contract to do so? That's complete and utter stupid bullshit clickbait. I don't understand it. I don't get it whatsoever. You brought him in for a reason, and you think that the players got a little taste of what Darryl Sutter is and what he is expecting out of his players, and what type of systems that they're going to be playing. And you need time to let that flow through and develop into the culture of the team, the systems of the team. And to think that he would be on the hot seat is utter lunacy. Like that's the stupidest thing, Adam, that you've probably put out there. I've only read one article of it, and of your work, and it's fucking stupid. It's absolutely stupid.
And you thought I was going to be the one that overreacted.
Yeah, I was a little surprised here. I thought Sean would be like, "What the fuck are you bringing this up for?" But it's Devin. Wow. Okay.
That's just complete and utter clickbait, because it's funny because once you click onto it, Darryl Sutter, Calgary Flames, is the first coach that he brings up, and I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's fucking ridiculous.
Well, I think three of the 5 he listed, the 5 that he listed were Sutter, Green, Colton in Chicago, Blashill in Detroit, and Budner in San Jose. 3 out of the 5, when you got Sutter, Green, and Colton, I think you can make a case that the person that should be on the hot seat is the GM. You look at what the Chicago's been an absolute mess. Last year they were just ridiculously horrible, let alone everything that's going on with the sexual assault investigations and everything. And then you've got Benning and the Canucks and Treliving and the Flames. Like, I think all 3 of them, they have GMs that should be have hotter seats than the coaches. But when you think about that, what is the one thing that happens when a new GM comes in? 90% of the time, they bring their own coach. They hire a new coach because they want their guy. So that would be the one caveat I have is, yes, all three of those guys, I think the GMs are on a much hotter seat than the coaches. But when you look at that and you think of what happens when a GM change happens, guess what? That by association, their seats could be a little hot.
To Devin's defense, though, like if that was what was his first name? Adam. If that was Adam's line of thinking, then he should have communicated that in the article, being like, "Hey, it might not be the coach's fault that they end up being on the hot seat. It's due to the circumstances that the GMs have put them in."
Yeah,
especially the name of the article. It's 5 NHL coaches on the hot seat. And we literally just talked about Alain Vigneault. I'd say he has a higher risk of getting fired than Sutter or Green.
I think that is one of the. I mean, if I had my list, there are absolutely 2 names that I would be having on that before any of the 5. One of them would be Alain Vigneault, by the way, and the other one I think is I'll just throw it, and people may think I'm ridiculous. Dave Tippett in Edmonton might be on that list, and also maybe some people might find this ridiculous, but Paul Maurice in Winnipeg I think is also may have a bigger hot seat than Sutter and Green, I would argue as well. But I mean, I think that one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up from the Calgary perspective, though, Devin, is one of the things that I'm hearing from Flame fans on Twitter is they're very frustrated that Treliving has not done more than he's done. And I do think Brad Treliving deserves to be on the hot seat, but I think part of this is because I think so many teams right now, I'm willing to almost give him a little bit of a pass in the sense because I think everybody is being handcuffed by the situation with Jack Eichel. It's not allowing anyone to do a lot of. It's hard. It's really hard right now to make a lot of big moves in the National Hockey League unless you do an offer sheet. Unless like it's right now, like you look at the trade situations out there, there's not much out there that you can really do legitimately to make that blockbuster move. It's hard. Right now
it's frustrating being a fan and not seeing bigger things happen in the offseason, especially with all the talk of Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Monahan not being on the hot seat. And we're talking about a hot seat, being on the trade block. I think you're definitely onto something there, Kev, where Jack Eichel is holding everything up right now because all the teams that really want to make a big splash or make a trade to change up their dressing room or to bring in a bigger talent is on that. But we're coming to a pinch point here where we're on the verge of rookie camp, and then it's going to be a main camp on top of that, and then you're going to have preseason games, and you want to have a solidified team by the time your main camp is started here. And it's not like an RFA situation where you can take them into training camp and maybe put a bit more pressure on the player. So I would assume that, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, with Montreal, if Montreal loses Kotkaniemi, then they're going to have to find a solution here to start turning the gears of the NHL to find a solution to solidify their center spots, and which could be actually the turning point of this offseason for trades. And I'd be very, very surprised if everybody's just stood put or didn't do anything before main training camp, because that's where you really want to start solidifying your team.
The way I look at it is it's results or nothing. You can say that it's tough. You can say that there's a log jam with that, but it's results or nothing. And it's with every GM. It's with every coach. You don't get results, and you're like, oh, but Jack Eichel's out there, and I can't make a move until Jack Eichel's moved. No, go again. Find a way. What Don Waddell found a way. The Carolina Hurricanes found a way. You have to find a way. Well, and I understand where you're coming from, Dev and Kevin. But I think at this point with Treliving, you need results. So whether or not they're not going to fire him now, but you need results. So if the Flames get off to a rough start, who knows what happens, because and they get off to a rough start, and this is the roster that they currently have is what it is. He's going to have to make a big move no matter what the situation with Eichel is at, and to do something, because he's going to have to do something to save his job. But in terms of going back to that, the coaching, I look Kev, you're right. I think Paul Maurice definitely is his seat is probably hotter than what that article's making it out to be. I would also maybe put in a Mike Sullivan. He's been there for close to almost 6 years now. They've got Ron Hextall and Brian Burke, newly appointed in GM and president role. They might want to bring in their own coach. Another one that I would put in there is Craig Berube in St. Louis. Ever since they won the cup, they've been not good. I think that's a hot seat. If you're gonna have a hot seat coach in Canada, I think you got to look over the left Devin's left hand shoulder, and you're looking at Toronto Maple Leafs and Sheldon.
Not yet.
I disagree, because you look at they haven't made it out of the. It won't necessarily be a in season move, but if they don't make it out of the first round of the playoffs again, talk about a team that could blow up everything in terms of management and all that with Dubas and Keefe, in my opinion. But
I think it's more so we're talking about GMs more so than like Treliving, more so than Sutter. I'd say Dubas is on the hot seat more than Keith is. This is his second season, or now going on to, I guess, halfway through. So it's been 2.5 seasons of Sean Keefe.
And I'll throw another one in there that I think will be a sneaky one, that if they don't take that next step and go on a deep run in the playoffs, Jared Bednar in Colorado. They've got all the talent in the world on that team, and they haven't made it past the second round.
So I think what we're proving with this discussion, though, is that this guy, Adam, did not choose to write this article. His manager, his editor likely assigned it to him. And because it's the off season, he's like, you know what? I'd rather spend my time at the beach. I'm just going to half-ass this. Who does Twitter talk about a lot? Oh, the Canucks, Green. Yeah. Oh, Sutter? Yeah. Let's put him on there too. The more we talk about this, and the more Sean goes into coaches that actually deserve to be on this list, it just feels very half-assed.